All right, y'all. So we discussed when the initial story came out how Bob Menendez was doing cartoonish corruption. So like the Supreme Court basically legalized political bribery, but there are rules attached to the political bribery. Like the bribery needs to be in the form of campaign contributions, or it needs to come through a super PAC, and the money needs to be in certain contexts. It needs to be tracked. I mean, there's some elements of dark money, but sometimes there's reporting requirements. So like, there's a complex web that an attorney could like navigate for you, right? But most politicians end up doing their corruption, but they stay within the guardrails that are there. Like, basically, we've already legalized political bribery and corruption, so why would you not stay within the few guardrails that exist, right? Well, Bob Menendez doesn't agree. Bob Menendez had a new nickname recently, Gold Bars Bob. Why? Because he was literally bought by the government of Egypt to the point where they bought him and his wife luxury vehicles. They gave him gold bars. He had like cash and gold bars falling out of the pockets of a jacket he had with his freaking name on it. I mean, this is beyond comical. This is like Nucky Thompson level 1920 style corruption, right? Well, guess what? Now we learned there's even more corruption. This reminds me of like the Bill Cosby story when first you had like one person come out and say, hey, he raped me and he slipped me this pill and I was out and he raped me. And then somebody else comes out and says it. And then the next thing you know, there's like 43 different women who are like, yeah, nope, I have the exact same story. This is like that, except with corruption. They say Gold Bar's Democrat Bob Menendez accused again by federal prosecutors, this time for accepting fancy wristwatches and other lavish gifts from Qatar in alleged corruption scheme. Senator Bob Menendez has been hit with new accusations in his years-long alleged corruption scheme, this time for allegedly accepting gifts from the Qataris. Federal prosecutors accused the New Jersey Democrat of accepting free race car tickets, fancy watches, and other plush gifts from the Gulf nation, even as he chaired and was the top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Isn't that glorious? In exchange, Menendez made positive comments about Qatar, according to prosecutors. He is also accused of accepting bribes up until this year in a superseding indictment that dropped Tuesday. The wristwatches allegedly offered to Menendez were valued between $10,000 and $24,000, according to the indictment. How about one of these? Co-defendant Fred Daibes is quoted as saying in the indictment, along with photos of the watches, Menendez and Daibes attended a Qatari event in Manhattan together in September 2021. 2 days later, Daibes texted Menendez about a Senate resolution supportive of Qatar, just as the Qatari investment company considered a real estate investment with Daibes. Wow, what do you know? What a coincidence. By March of 2022, the Qataris had offered Menendez's wife Nadine tickets to the Formula One Grand Prix in Florida, prosecutors said. In 2023, Qatari investment company completed a joint venture with Daibes worth tens of millions of dollars. Menendez, 69 years old, was charged in September with taking cash, gold bars, and gifts, including a Mercedes-Benz, from three entrepreneurs in exchange for using his power and influence to help them. Menendez's home was raided when the charges were announced. So let's understand something, guys. Recently, you had George Santos kicked out of Congress. Well, that's good, because he somehow managed to commit fraud in like 57 different ways, and everything about his life was a total lie. So I totally get it. He should be expelled. It's effectively like a vote of no confidence. I'm totally for that. But the Democrats have sort of protected Bob Menendez to this point. Well, at this point, that's inexcusable. Look, I understand the grander political calculations and Democrats versus Republicans and the slim margins and all that stuff in D.C. I get it. But we can't have stuff like this. You just can't do it. Because again, it's hit a level not just of shamelessness, but also of stupidity. If we have legalized bribery, you think all these motherfuckers aren't corrupt? They are all corrupt. Differing degrees, but they're all corrupt. The difference is some of them understand there's a legal way to do this and there's an illegal way to do this. And Bob Menendez is accepting personal gifts directly to represent not even just like corporations, to foreign nations. So this is like you're not even serving the American people. You're putting first and foremost millionaire and billionaire Qataris and Egyptians, and like beyond comical. But look, here's the thing. I predict he is going to eventually go to prison, right? And they might kick him out soon. The Democrats might. But like, he is going to be the fall guy for a totally rotten and decrepit system, because he didn't color within the lines of the legalized bribery. So what'll happen is, it's similar with like Bernie Madoff, right? Bernie Madoff was the face of this is a guy who did it the wrong way. But at the same time, you had Wall Street have fraud as a business model. everything that went down during the 2007, 2008 subprime mortgage crisis and Great Recession. Like, basically, the whole thing was a house of cards. Wall Street wasn't the smartest guys in the room. They were the greediest guys in the room. They were playing hot potato with toxic assets and running out the back door with all the money. And, like, the whole system was fraudulent. And a lot of people profited a lot of money. Remember how we bailed them out, taxpayers bailed them out, and then they paid bonuses to the same people who effectively bankrupted their companies? Remember that? Huge scandal at the time. Totally unacceptable. The whole thing was fraudulent. The whole thing was crime on top of crime within crime. Everybody was doing crimes. But Bernie Madoff was the fall guy. Oh, this guy is an example of how to do it incorrectly. Whereas this other guy, like Jamie Dimon, getting saved with billions of taxpayer dollars and going right back to doing what he was doing before. Don't look at him. He's actually fine. He's an upstanding citizen. He's not like Bernie Madoff. That's exactly what's going to happen here with Bob Menendez. They're going to be like, look, he's bad. He's wrong. It's evil. It's shameless. He's corrupt. All true. All true. But it'll be like, look away from the business as usual style corruption. Look away from Jared Kushner taking $2 billion from the Saudi government and delivering for them day after day and sharing potential secret information with them. Look away from that. Look away from the Saudis giving Trump millions of dollars for his live golf events, and then he goes in there and gives them every favor under the sun, gives them more money, gives them more weapons, looks the other way when they dismember a journalist, Jamal Khashoggi. Look away from that, right? All these politicians are corrupt in various different ways. For most of them, it's corporate corruption. It's big financial institutions and Wall Street or big oil or the gun lobby or whatever it may be. And it's, give me campaign contributions, then I'll turn around and serve you with my voting record, and everybody's happy, right? But at the end of the day, who gets shafted in that scenario? The American people. Either way, they are not representing the will of their own constituents. But Bob Menendez is the most egregious example with the most personalized corruption, who did not color within the lines of the legalized bribery that we have. So he will be the fall guy, and then they will use him to justify continuing the already corrupt system as it is. And I just want you to keep those two things in mind at the same time. That Bob Menendez is evil and shameless and corrupt, and he is an order of magnitude worse, and he's got to go. But also, do not take your eye off the ball of this standard operating procedure, status quo style corruption, because it is real as a heart attack, and the end result is you never get represented. And so let's remember that, because like John Fetterman has been leading the charge against Bob Menendez, right? Saying, oh, this guy's the senator from Egypt. He's totally corrupt. He shouldn't be in there. This is ridiculous. We got to kick him out. All that is true. But what John Fetterman doesn't tell you is AIPAC literally wrote his position on Israel. They drafted something. They sent it to AIPAC. AIPAC said, here, we're going to make some edits. Here's your position on Israel. He goes, thank you very much. And what happened? Because he took their exact position, they said, we won't fund Connor Lamb, and we'll fund you, and we'll back you. Literally have a lobbyist group, a foreign lobbyist group, write your position on an issue. So instead of representing your constituents and the interests of the American people, you're going to represent a foreign lobbyist group, which, by the way, is deeply corrupt and deeply right-wing and supports, permanent occupation and genocide of the Palestinian people. And Menendez is the only problem here? No, I don't think so. No. So keep that in mind. By the way, when the first round of indictments came out against Bob Menendez and the corruption was exposed, it was hilarious because, of course, MAGA always hated him. He's a Democrat. But then eventually they switched and they were like, actually, the deep state is targeting him. Why are they targeting him? He must be good. He must do things right. So you got these like terminal brainworm contrarians, and they're a bunch of idiots. And that's not the takeaway. The takeaway should be they're all corrupt. He's just more cartoonish with it. He's going to be the fall guy, but the rest of the corruption will continue as per usual. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.